What if everything we watched in Euphoria Season 3 was leading to a tragedy that nobody truly believed would happen? For weeks, we watched characters fight for redemption, love, freedom, and a second chance at life. We saw friendships break apart, secrets come to light, and dangerous people gain more power than ever before. But in the final episode, all of those storylines crashed together in a way that completely changed the future of the series. And the biggest shock of all? The ending left us with a heartbreaking loss, a shocking betrayal, and several questions that fans are still debating. Was this really the end of Rue's journey? Why did one of the most loyal characters suddenly turn against his own boss? And did the finale secretly reveal the true message of the entire season? In this video, we're breaking down Euphoria Season 3 Episode 8, explaining the ending, uncovering hidden details, and discussing what it all means for the future of these characters. Trust me, by the end of this video, you may look at the finale in a completely different way. The final episode opens with a feeling that something is terribly wrong. Throughout the season, Rue has been trying to rebuild her life. For the first time in a long time, it seemed like she was finally moving away from the darkness that had followed her for years. She wanted a fresh start. She wanted a future. Most importantly, she wanted peace. But Euphoria has always been a story about consequences. Every decision made earlier in the season slowly comes back in this finale. The people Rue trusted, the dangerous world she became connected to, the enemies she made along the way. All of it begins closing in around her. One of the most important moments happens when Rue appears to be entering a new chapter of her life. There is a sense of hope around her. The lighting is brighter. The atmosphere feels calmer. For a brief moment, viewers are led to believe that maybe she has finally escaped the nightmare. But this is where the episode begins playing with our expectations. The show carefully creates a reality that feels peaceful, yet something never feels completely right. Small details begin to stand out. Conversations feel strange. Events seem disconnected from reality. There is a dreamlike quality to everything happening around Rue. As the episode continues, we slowly realize that the story is hiding something from us. This is what makes the first half of the finale so powerful. Instead of relying on action or violence, it creates suspense through uncertainty. The audience constantly feels that there is a missing piece to the puzzle. At the same time, another storyline is building toward a dangerous confrontation. Ollie is struggling with grief, anger, and guilt. Throughout the season, he tried to be a guide for Rue. He wanted her to find a better path. He believed people could change. He believed that even those who had fallen into darkness could find their way back. But after everything that happens, that belief begins to break apart. The death and destruction surrounding him force him to question everything he once stood for. Is evil something people choose? Or is it simply part of who they are? The finale spends a lot of time exploring this question. This is where the conflict between Ollie and Alamo becomes much bigger than a personal rivalry. Alamo has represented corruption throughout the season. He manipulates people. He controls them through fear. He treats human lives as if they are pieces on a chessboard. Every move he makes benefits himself, regardless of who gets hurt. Ollie represents the opposite side. He believes in accountability, faith, and redemption. So when these two characters begin moving toward an inevitable collision, it feels like more than just two men preparing to fight. It feels like two completely different views of the world preparing to clash. The episode repeatedly hints at this battle through symbolism. Light and darkness. Faith and temptation. Hope and despair. And while all of this is happening, the show quietly prepares its most devastating reveal. The clues are there from the beginning. The strange atmosphere around Rue. The feeling that reality isn't quite normal. The sense that something has already happened before the audience realizes it. When the truth finally begins to emerge, it completely changes the meaning of everything we have been watching. Moments that seemed hopeful suddenly become heartbreaking. Conversations that felt comforting take on an entirely new meaning. And this revelation becomes the emotional center of the finale. Because Euphoria Season 3 isn't just asking whether people can change. It's asking what happens when someone spends their entire life searching for a better version of themselves, only to discover that time may have already run out. As the episode moves toward its final act, the tension continues rising. Ollie's anger reaches its breaking point. Alamo's empire begins showing cracks. Hidden betrayals start surfacing, and the truth about Rue becomes impossible to ignore. But the biggest shock of the episode is still waiting. Because one character is about to make a decision that nobody saw coming, and that choice will change everything. Who is truly loyal to Alamo? For most of the season, Alamo operated as if he was untouchable. He had money, power, influence, and most importantly, fear on his side. Everyone around him seemed afraid to challenge him. Even when people disagreed with his actions, they usually stayed silent because they knew what would happen if they crossed him. That's what makes the final confrontation so interesting. Alamo enters the final act believing he is still in complete control. He believes everyone around him remains loyal. He believes his enemies are defeated. And most importantly, he believes nobody close to him would ever betray him. But that's exactly where he makes his biggest mistake. Throughout the season, there were small hints that Bishop was different from the rest of Alamo's crew. Unlike the others, he never seemed interested in showing off power or wealth. He wasn't obsessed with attention. He didn't act reckless. He simply observed everything around him. At first, this made him seem like one of Alamo's most trusted allies. But looking back, those same qualities may have been warning signs. Bishop was always watching, always calculating, always thinking several steps ahead. And in episode 8, we finally discover that the most dangerous person in the room wasn't Alamo's enemy. It was someone standing right beside him. As Ollie prepares for his final confrontation, the tension becomes almost unbearable. Every conversation feels like it could lead to violence. Every glance feels loaded with meaning. The audience knows something major is about to happen, but nobody knows exactly how it will unfold. When Ollie finally faces Alamo, the scene feels larger than life. It almost resembles an old Western showdown. Two men standing on opposite sides, neither willing to back down, both carrying the weight of everything that happened throughout the season. But underneath the surface, another story is quietly unfolding. Bishop has already made his choice. The moment arrives when Alamo reaches for his weapon, expecting everything to go according to plan. He believes he holds all the power. Then suddenly, reality hits him. His weapon isn't ready. His advantage is gone. And for the first time all season, Alamo realizes he isn't in control anymore. The look of shock on his face says everything. He wasn't defeated by his enemies. He was defeated by trust. This moment perfectly captures one of the biggest themes of the season. Sometimes the greatest danger doesn't come from the people standing against you. It comes from the people standing beside you. The betrayal completely shifts the balance of power. Within seconds, the man who spent the entire season controlling everyone else becomes powerless himself. And the consequences are immediate. The empire he built begins collapsing around him. The fear he used to control others disappears. The future he imagined for himself vanishes in an instant. For many viewers, this became one of the most satisfying moments in the entire finale because Alamo finally experiences the same helplessness that he forced countless others to feel. But the episode doesn't stop there. The fallout of Alamo's downfall spreads to several other characters. Cassie's story takes an emotional turn. Throughout the season, she chased things that she believed would make her happy. Attention, validation, love, status. Yet every time she got closer to those things, they felt emptier than before. By the finale, she begins realizing that many of the things she wanted were never truly important. Loss changes her perspective. The dreams she spent so much time chasing suddenly feel meaningless compared to the people she cared about. This creates one of the saddest aspects of her story. Sometimes people only understand what matters after it's already gone. Meanwhile, Maddie's situation becomes equally important. Earlier in the season, she seemed trapped in a future she never wanted. Every decision around her was being controlled by someone else. Every opportunity came with strings attached. There was a constant feeling that her freedom was slowly disappearing. But once Alamo falls, that future disappears with him. For the first time in a long time, Maddie can finally breathe. The relief on her face says more than any dialogue ever could. She no longer has to live under someone else's control. She no longer has to fear what comes next. And while her future remains uncertain, uncertainty suddenly feels better than captivity. The finale also gives attention to Lexi, whose journey is much quieter, but equally meaningful. Unlike other characters, Lexi's battle has always been internal. She struggles with guilt, regret, anxiety, and the feeling that she could have done things differently. Throughout the season, she constantly looked backward, replaying mistakes and wondering what might have changed if she had made different choices. But episode 8 finally gives her a new perspective. Life cannot be rewritten. The past cannot be undone. All anyone can do is keep moving forward. This realization becomes one of the most important lessons in the entire finale. Because every character in Euphoria is carrying some form of regret. Every character wishes they could change something. Yet the episode argues that survival isn't about fixing the past. It's about finding the strength to continue despite it. And as these stories begin coming together, the finale starts preparing for its final emotional moments. The dust is settling. The battles are ending. The truths are finally being revealed. But before the credits roll, the episode delivers one final message that changes how we view the entire season. A message about loss, a message about redemption, and a message about whether peace can ever truly be found after so much pain. And that's exactly what we'll break down in the final section. As the finale reaches its closing moments, Euphoria Season 3 shifts away from action and focuses on something much deeper. The consequences of every choice that was made. By this point, many of the major conflicts have been resolved. Alamo's reign is over. Hidden betrayals have been exposed. Several characters have been freed from situations that once seemed impossible to escape. But despite those victories, there is no feeling of celebration. Instead, there is a feeling of emptiness, because the cost of reaching this point was simply too high. And that brings us back to the biggest moment of the episode. Rue. The reveal surrounding Rue completely changes the emotional weight of the finale. Throughout the episode, viewers were encouraged to believe that she was finally finding peace. The scenes around her felt calmer, more hopeful, almost as if her life was beginning again. But when the truth becomes clear, those moments take on a completely different meaning. What looked like a new beginning may have actually been a goodbye. This is why the reveal hits so hard. The audience spends most of the episode hoping that Rue has finally escaped the darkness that followed her for years. After everything she survived, people wanted to see her win. They wanted redemption. They wanted recovery. They wanted proof that a person can overcome even the worst moments of their life. Instead, the finale delivers something much more tragic, yet at the same time, strangely peaceful. Unlike many television deaths that rely on dramatic action or shocking violence, Rue's ending feels quiet, almost ordinary. And that's exactly why it hurts. Life doesn't always end with grand speeches or heroic moments. Sometimes it ends quietly, unexpectedly, without warning. The finale embraces that reality, making Rue's story feel more human and more heartbreaking. But there's another layer to her ending that many viewers may have missed. Throughout the season, Rue wasn't only searching for sobriety. She was searching for meaning. For years she struggled with addiction, loss, loneliness, and self-destruction. Every season showed her fighting against parts of herself that she couldn't fully control. This season added a new dimension to that journey. Faith. Hope. The possibility that there was something bigger than the pain she carried. Several scenes throughout the season hinted at spiritual themes. References to good and evil appeared repeatedly. Characters often discussed morality, forgiveness, and redemption. These ideas become especially important in the finale, because Rue's final moments are not presented as fear. They are presented as peace. Whether viewers interpret those scenes literally or symbolically, the message remains the same. For the first time in a very long time, Rue is no longer running, no longer fighting, no longer suffering, and that creates one of the most emotional conclusions the character could possibly receive. At the same time, Ali's story reaches a powerful ending as well. From the beginning of the season, Ali carried the burden of trying to save people who often didn't want to be saved. He believed in second chances. He believed that people could change. But the tragedies he experienced forced him to question those beliefs. The finale challenges him emotionally, spiritually, and morally. Yet by the end, there is a sense that he has finally found acceptance. Not because everything worked out, not because justice fixed every problem, but because he understands that some battles are beyond his control. There is a quiet sadness in that realization. Yet there is wisdom in it too. Ollie's final moments feel like the completion of a journey that began long before Season 3 ever started. He has experienced loss, anger, regret, and heartbreak. Yet somehow, he keeps moving forward. In many ways, Ollie becomes the character who best represents the message of the entire finale. Pain is unavoidable. Loss is unavoidable. But continuing to live despite those things is what gives life meaning. The final scenes leave viewers with mixed emotions. Some questions have been answered. Others remain open. And that's one reason why fans continue debating this ending. Was this truly the end of Euphoria? Or was it designed to leave the door open for another chapter? The truth is that the finale feels like both a season ending and a series ending. Major character arcs reach conclusions. Important relationships come full circle. Several storylines receive a sense of closure. At the same time, enough uncertainty remains for future stories to exist. And perhaps that uncertainty is intentional, because life itself rarely provides perfect endings. People move forward. Some stories end. Others continue. And nobody ever gets all the answers. That's what makes this finale so memorable. It isn't focused on shocking twists alone. It isn't focused on action alone. It's focused on the human cost behind every decision. The cost of addiction. The cost of power. The cost of revenge. And ultimately, the cost of trying to become someone new. Whether you loved this ending or hated it, one thing is impossible to deny. It leaves an impact. Long after the credits roll, the questions remain. Could Rue's fate have been avoided? Was Bishop justified in betraying Alamo? Did the surviving characters truly learn from their mistakes? And most importantly, was the entire season trying to tell us that redemption is possible, or that some people simply run out of time before they can find it? That's what makes Euphoria Season 3, Episode 8 such a fascinating finale. A story about hope and despair, light and darkness, life and death, and the painful reality that sometimes the things we want most are the things we can never get back. But what do you think about the ending? Did the finale give these characters the ending they deserved, or do you think there was a different path the story should have taken?